And so one of the things that I would highly, highly, highly recommend doing for any local business of any type. So this is going to be a really interesting one because we're shifting gears a little bit from different home service businesses to financial services, which is a completely different ball of wax here. And so I wanted to share my screen with you so that you can see some of the words that we're changing on the website, because this is a client that we're kind of talking to. We haven't onboarded this client yet, but it's a tax service business, or like a QuickBooks service business. And we're going to go through. We got Gabe, he's the head of our SEO team. Robyn is the head of our social media and ads team. I focus primarily on conversion rate optimization and traffic and stuff. And we're all going to come together and put together a marketing plan for this JSH accounting services business. So let me get my screen up so we can dive into some of this stuff together. All right, so this is the website as it stands today. And when I first looked at it, the first thing that occurred to me was it's a service for everybody. It's like it says individually tailored bookkeeping services for businesses of all shapes and sizes. It's a guy located in Fayetteville, Georgia. And a handful of things really jumped out to me. And Gabe, I'd be interested to get your take on this too in just a second when we talk about keyword research and search volume and everything. But my impression in terms of conversion rates is that nobody's going to think this is for them. Like, I don't have a business of all shapes and sizes. I have a small business with my particular shape and size. And I also don't think that all shapes and sizes of businesses are going to be interested in working with one individual accounting service provider. And as a side note, by the way, this isn't even him. This is stock photography. And so one of the things that I would highly, highly, highly recommend doing for any local business of any type is hire a professional photographer to come in for a photo shoot and then put real pictures on your website, on your social profiles. Just anytime there's a picture of you, make it actually you. And we've seen conversion rate boost as much as 95% for local businesses. That's basically like a double your conversion rate kind of a thing. And all you need to do is get a picture of yourself. And it's like $150 to get a professional photographer to come over and do a photo shoot with you and your team, which at least in the United States, that's basically what the price is. So back to this though. So we've got all shapes and sizes. And then the main call to action here is let's work together. And that doesn't really resonate with me because I don't even know what you do yet, right? Like, it's like individually tailored bookkeeping services. I don't even know if it's for me. And then as I scroll down, I'm reading more about what the offer is. And I'm noticing that there's words like QuickBooks in here. And I'm thinking that if this particular person is trying to attract their ideal clients, like, large corporations don't use QuickBooks, like QuickBooks is a small business accounting software. And so I think that the ideal like target audience for this guy's name is Justin. For Justin is small businesses like the one that maybe you have, the one that I have, like, like somewhere between 1 to 25 employees, something like that, or maybe zero. Just like even if even if you don't have any employees, you might still be in business for yourself. But then you get down here for the services, and I'm seeing QuickBooks showing up again, and I feel like this guy probably uses QuickBooks for all of his clients, and that really dials in the type of client that he's looking for. And then I see this final call to action here, which is find out how we can help your business grow. And that's nobody wants to do. I don't want to call everyone in the world to find out how they can help me. I want you to tell me how you can help me so I can then decide to call you because of all of that. So I went and just kind of changed just the top part. I didn't change the whole site. I just have this little plugin where you can edit this little thing over here. It's like edit my site or something like that, where you can just type over what the words are. And I just thought if you change it to something like this, where it seems like Justin's primarily offering QuickBooks services, so I'd put that near the top. And then I'd start putting the reason why you should call me. Like, is bookkeeping really the best use of your time? And so we're dialing into a reason why I should call you. And then a bit of an offer here, like, stay focused on growth. We'll worry about the numbers. And I'm kind of careful with these types of things. Like, I don't want to tell people what they should do or try to sound bossy or like I know their business better than they know their own or anything like that. But I am a small business owner myself. And I know that I would like to stay. I hire a bookkeeper. I didn't hire Justin. I have my own bookkeeper, but I hired a bookkeeper because I don't want to worry about the numbers. I don't want to send the invoices and do all the bookkeeping and spend all that time. I want to stay focused on growth and have someone else worry about the numbers. And then instead of call me right now, I thought, well, what if you changed, so like over here, we've got like, let's work together what we offer. What if you changed that to a lead magnet and made it discover the top 10 deductions my clients overlook? Something like that, like something where you stick your email address in and get something cool, like you discover something that's interesting that like I would put my email address in. If someone said the top 10 deductions small business clients overlook, stuff like that, I would do that. And then, send some emails.
Me too.
And so now he'd be building a list of leads, and I think that's a really cool idea, because then he could nurture the leads and those emails that get sent out, which can be automated. You don't have to do it manually. Just automate a sequence of 5 to 10 emails. Usually 7 is a nice sweet spot, 1 a day for a week, and educate, qualify, nurture, and then when somebody does call you, you can onboard clients really fast because you don't have to do anything. Like they know everything about your business. They're educated, they're qualified, they're ready to go. And so you can onboard clients really without even having to sell, just because you told everything to everybody up front already. Like I guess I'm using that word a little bit loosely. What I mean is you don't have to like persuade people to work with you. You still have to present your options. Like you might have different packages that you might want to offer people or whatever. But the overall point is somebody's calling you because like, this is perfect and exactly for me. You're getting inside somebody's head, and a lead magnet like that, I think, would be really helpful. And that's basically the main thing. I will wrap up with one last thing before we jump into Gabe's thoughts about SEO. Is down here, like down at the bottom, there's a picture here where it says, let's work together. This is where he should have a picture of himself saying something about right here. Justin should be shown right there, so that people get to know you, build a relationship. And also down below here, instead of like it's always the right time, I would put social proof, like show clients that you've worked with, results that they've gotten, certifications that you have. Like if he's QuickBooks certified, put that out there. Like anything, any form of certificate or result or anything that builds social proof that show other people have chosen to work with Justin and they like it, or that Justin has taken time to get certified in something. Any kind of social proof like that, I think would be a lot better than just this catch-all schedule a free consultation kind of a thing. So anyway, so what do you guys think about all that?
Yeah, I love that. And you're focusing, you're putting the focus on, like, you've now honed in on his audience. I mean, there's small businesses, they're nonprofits, maybe some medium-sized businesses, but like when you get outside of that, you're not using QuickBooks anymore. You've graduated to something else. Mm-hmm. And so when you're speaking to small business owners, you're speaking to people running nonprofits, and they need that help. And if you can speak, like when I read through the original flow of the homepage, there was I almost couldn't tell like who this was for. And so if you just come in right in the hero, that first section, and just say, hey, this is what we do, and we help small businesses and we help nonprofits. And I don't feel like that subhead that you wrote too is too pushy. I mean, I feel like it's let us come alongside you. We know what it feels like, and let us help you.
What do you think the implications are for search engine? It looks like, Robyn, you're about to say that. Before I ask Gabe that question, what were you about to say?
Oh, it was just really quick. I was just going to say, in that header that you did, you also made it about the person looking at the website immediately. Like it's about me, and that's, they're thinking that they relate to that they connect with that. And it's not about the business. It's about the business owner's problem. And that's really important from those first glances at the website. Anyway, that was it.
Yeah, I was so glad you said that. In fact, just a minute ago in DoubleStack, so for anybody interested, like when I'm not doing videos like this, I'm actually working with actual people like you and me, business owners, web designers, and DoubleStack. And we were putting together a proposal for a guy that does like horticulture and landscaping and stuff like that. And the guy that was in DoubleStack had recently joined. I think he's only been in there for like a week, and he wrote like his first version of the proposal. And when he was listing all of the different things that the person gets in the offer, it's like, we want you to get a better search engine ranking. We want you to get more leads. We want you to all these. It's like everything started with "we want." I was like, dude, what if you just like delete the "we want" and just say "you get"? Like you get a better search engine ranking, you get more leads, you get an email list, and that it just feels so much better to switch away from like what I want somebody to have. And like I totally slip into this too, where like I often will say we when I mean like you and me, or me and another double stacker that I'm working with. Like I tend to use the we thing because I feel it. Like I want to participate, and I talk about we meaning us. But I also know that in terms of like, especially your outbound marketing, like when you're talking to other people, like first touch stuff, like on your website, on your email, even in-person networking events, if you tell people what they get, it's so much more powerful than what I want them to have. And I think you can even see this in other things too, like Apple. Like if you ever, I study Apple ads all the time. Like anytime they come out with any kind of an ad about anything new, I study it. It's like, why does this work? Like these are like the aliens from outer space. He's kind of smart. Like I used to joke that Apple hired aliens from outer space because all of their stuff was so awesome. And I study the ads. And if you look at it, you'll see you get this, you get this. This is for you. This is why you're safe, with the SOS messaging that they recently came out with. And it's all about what you get out of it. And I think that's a huge point that Robyn brought up. And now I've gone off on this big tangent. So the big question I was going to ask Gabe was, do you feel like by narrowing down the target audience into people that are smaller businesses, people that might be looking for QuickBooks services, not trying to focus on the entire world all at once, does that help you with SEO in terms of figuring out what keywords to look for, or what the search volume is going to be, or how to pull in like a higher converting traffic through the way that you optimize the websites, like anything like that?
Yeah. So let me share my screen and I'll show you some numbers. I sent that request to you. So what we're looking at is, so going back to the website, I tried that QuickBooks angle, and from an SEO angle, it doesn't really resonate. People tend to not be really specific when they're searching for things. And so we can look at some numbers right now. If we go back over to, let me pull up some bookkeeping references here. So what I'm trying to do is like the three things that I'm looking at, like they don't provide CPA services. They're more of a bookkeeping kind of a service. So I'm going to be looking at something like this: bookkeeping services. You're at $12K a month, and then bookkeepers near me. Like those kinds of things are what people are looking for. Maybe you have somebody who doesn't understand the difference between a CPA and an accountant and bookkeeping services. Maybe you might get some people, but from the SEO angle, I'm just laser focused on bookkeeping services and bookkeepers near me. I went the QuickBooks route, and there's just the search volume really isn't there. So for me, and from the data that I'm looking at just from SEO, the QuickBooks piece might resonate with people who are on the site. But if we're just trying to rank on Google, that's what I'm looking for, are things like bookkeeping services and the bookkeepers near me. So that's where I'm gravitating first. Like that's kind of thought number one.
Okay. Let me tag on that real quick. And so based on what you just said, then I would then take your information and I would go and update the landing page that we just talked about. And so instead of saying QuickBooks services at the top, I would say bookkeeping services at the top. And then instead of, is bookkeeping really the best use of your time, I would say, is using QuickBooks really the best use of your time? So that the main H1 would be the bookkeeping service. And this is so crazy. Like, I don't know how web designers today get by without access to your genius. Like, if I didn't have access to you, I would be optimizing the website for QuickBooks, thinking that people would search for that just because it seems like maybe that's what I might do. When you can actually look at the stats and say, hey, you really ought to invert those two things, which is like if anybody wants access to this knowledge, jump in, schedule a call with Gabe, and just let him help you with this. So like, as part of DoubleStack, you have access to Robyn's genius, Gabe's genius. You work with me every day in the DoubleStack dashboard and everything. And you get this unfair advantage over like the solo web designer just trying to make things work on their own. So that's how I would flip the homepage based on that research. So anyway, that's all. That was my interruption. Back to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then the location piece, so because he's in Fayetteville, and he offers his services everywhere. I mean, he has a domain authority of a 0, which is pretty normal for a small business. So from an off-page standpoint, he's not going to rank for Unless he really niches down into a specific kind of offering, even then we'd have to make sure that the keyword volume is there. So like bookkeeping for nonprofits, for instance, that would be something that I would do a deeper dive into for keywords and say, okay, is anybody looking for that? Maybe they're not. And a lot of times some of those ideas lead to another idea, or maybe that is a good idea, or sometimes it's just a bad idea. Like you look at the data and you say, well, nobody's really searching for that. So they are a nonprofit. They're just, it's like, like just how culture, we're not aware of how culture affects us because we're in an American culture. In the same way, like if somebody's looking for nonprofit bookkeeping services, they're not thinking that much. Like they're not thinking, I'm looking for a nonprofit bookkeeping service. They're just looking for a bookkeeping service. They're not really thinking about the fact that they are a nonprofit unless it provides a different kind of problem that another like just kind of for-profit business wouldn't have.
Well, they might look for affordable bookkeeping services usually with nonprofits. That's kind of, I've been on some boards, man,
Oh, yes.
That's usually what they're hunting for. Yeah.
Absolutely. So then one of the opportunities for them is the location-based piece. So I know that they will work with anybody, but he's talked about they're in Fayetteville and they offer local and 100% online. And then down here, he mentions serving all of Georgia. And so it was in the footer. So serving clients in Georgia and nationwide. So it's always nice to mention that you're serving clients nationwide. And so I wouldn't take that out. But if I'm focused on how are we going to rank them in Google to get them to show up for people who are looking for their services, then I'm gonna really kind of niche down locally, and then I'm gonna look at Fayetteville. And I'm going to look at McDonough is right there. They're right outside Atlanta. So I look at Atlanta and they can't rank in Atlanta right now. They could maybe in a year, if we were doing ongoing work with them, maybe a year or two, depending on the speed of the package. But for Fayetteville and McDonough, I mean, like you come through here and the people who are ranking in Fayetteville for bookkeeping services, you have a domain authority of a 0.3, a 0.2, a 0.1, a 1. So I look at that and a 0. So they're actually on the first page. They're 7th in Fayetteville. So that's awesome that they show up. I want to get them in the top 3. And that comes with just doing some off-page work and some on-page work. To get that domain authority up to, even if they had a domain authority of a 3, right? And this is where you have to compare who's ranking on the SERPs that you want to show up for. Because if they had a domain authority of a 3, which is really small, they could show up even higher in Fayetteville. And then McDonough is the same thing. I mean, it's a bunch of 0s and 1s. And so they could show up in the top 3 eventually in McDonough as well. And then Atlanta, again, a little tougher, but I think at some point they could show up there, and that Atlanta just opens up the door to so many businesses that might be looking for those bookkeeping services. And because they're local to Atlanta, that's already going to create that trust. It's like, oh, there's somebody right here, then I'll reach out to them. So it doesn't feel like somebody far off unless they niche down into a certain kind of bookkeeping service. They're going to have to, from an SEO angle, they're going to have to niche down to their location and start there first, and then they can expand from there. So that was kind of my number 2 thought, was the location, like really focusing on the location. And then practically what that looks like would be they're building out their homepage. We're optimizing that. Right now it's a 1-pager, which is great. I mean, you can rank with a 1-pager because they're ranking right now in Fayetteville with a 1-page site. To then expand that, then we're building out and optimizing the homepage. I want to see more copy on there. I want to see all that optimized for bookkeeping services and bookkeepers, and then building out the about page. I want to know who they are. I want, like Lee, like what you said. I want to see his face. I want to know what kind of like what kind of credentials he has, why should we work with him, and then building out those service pages. So building out services specifically about, right now it just goes to, just to an anchor text right here. So it goes to services, and like even this is a bit vague, and I think it's a bit vague for Google. Like Google doesn't really understand the services that he's offering right now, because the subheads are routine functions and occasional functions. So like I see what he's trying to do, but I want to see specific. Like we offer bookkeeping services, and we offer end of year bookkeeping, and just a few kind of services that they would offer, that we could build out some content around that. And then you're doing off-page work. I don't see his address in here. That's going to help Google understand where they're located more than just located in Fayetteville, Georgia. And then potentially focus on those cities. So building out some pages to show Google that they service people in Atlanta, and they service businesses in McDonough, and they service businesses in Fayetteville. So those are the practical things that I would do to roll out that site, and to get them showing up in their local area first, so that they can expand from there.
When you said that you didn't think they could rank in Atlanta yet, what made you think that?
Good question. So I'm just looking at, just as a off the cuff, I'm looking at domain authorities. So you go from a whole bunch of zeros. Like I think of it like a varsity and a JV team, like cross country. The JV, they're just going to be slower, and the varsity are going to be faster. So if we're just looking at off page, which is all of the sites that are linking back over to your site, we're just looking at off page. Nobody's doing that well in Fayetteville, Georgia. So if we're kind of sticking Justin on a team right now, I would put him in the JV team for ranking, and the JV team is ranking in Fayetteville and McDonough right now. So just from off-page numbers, I see a lot of zeros and ones. Then I go to Atlanta, and now we're getting into the varsity team, where the first guy that ranks is a 12, and we have a 50 and 20 and 4. There is a 0. But my guess is they're right there. They're located in Atlanta, and so that's going to help them rank there. And then a 4 and a 50 and a 21. So it's just a different landscape. So it'd be like sticking a freshman on the varsity team, and he just doesn't run well because everybody's faster. So that's what I'm looking at there. So it's doable. It just doesn't happen. So the way that I would break down a couple packages, depending on their budget, would say, let's do a small package. If we do a small package, then we can work on your Fayetteville and McDonough. So we can work on those rankings, and we can see movement there. If you want to go up to a large package, then we can take on Atlanta and really do some work there, so that eventually at a large package level, you could go even faster, but at a large package level, you probably could get them ranking in 6 to 9 months in Atlanta, where they're showing up on the first page, just from what I'm seeing right here. So it's doable. They need to run faster than they would need to run for Fayetteville and McDonough.
Yeah, that makes sense. It could be the case if it's just this one person, you might not be able to handle that much heat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's too much growth too fast. So maybe for his budget, and maybe for the amount of clients that he wants to bring in right now, he just focuses on a small package, and we get him ranking in the top 5 and then the top 3. I mean, that would be a great action item for these guys.
That's awesome. So what do you think, Robyn? So like one way to kind of short circuit exposure in Atlanta would be to potentially buy ads that you could target Atlanta with. Another thing that is kind of on the table to discuss is social media. Like, what would this guy do if he wanted to leverage social media for any of his marketing, or any combination of those two? Like what's your take on all of this?
Yeah, well, I was actually immediately thinking of ads, though we would want to really look at their initial budget for a high competition area like Atlanta. And the temptation when there's like a national, they can do it online anywhere kind of service area is to run ads everywhere. And that just spreads it way too thin. And so in the same way, a lot of the SEO strategy, I just want to touch on ads really quick, is very aligned with the pay-per-click ad strategy. They may also qualify for local service ads, which shows above all of search, especially in their service areas. And they could expand their service area outside of just their physical location as well. And they can do that by editing their Google business profile. So, but my initial thoughts were, if we have to pick between LSA and pay-per-click, I always pick the search pay-per-click ads because we get a lot more data, and it supports everything going on with the SEO, and they can work in tandem together, helping one another along. Because when you have solid SEO on a page, then your ad quality improves, because those keywords are essential to be consistent across the ad copy, but also where they're landing. That's really important. So you can't have, you've got to have solid copy across the board for both the Google ads and the SEO. So one thing that we talked about is touching on social is how, you wouldn't necessarily want to lead with QuickBooks for search, but you could feature QuickBooks in your social. And so a lot of those details that maybe don't fit on the landing page, or maybe, it gives more insight than you want to have on some of those service pages. The opportunity for that is on social media. And they do have consistent social media presence. I'm actually going to share my screen really quick.
That's interesting. While you're sharing the screen, I can imagine where if I was on social media and somebody was like offering me a way out of QuickBooks. I don't know if I've shared this with you guys before, but I hate using QuickBooks. I use QuickBooks. QuickBooks is my accountants basically insist that I use it. And prior to hiring my own bookkeeping person, I was in there doing the bookkeeping myself. And I get so mad. I get so mad that I will designate a particular day, like Saturday or something, to do my bookkeeping. And I'll tell my wife and kids, I'm going up to the attic. This is the attic. I work up here. I'm going up here to do the bookkeeping. When I come down, I'm going to be mad. So it's not your fault. You didn't do anything. I just hate the QuickBooks. So just like when I come down, just let me be for a few minutes to decompress. Like it was that severe. And the reason is I just hate it. I feel like I'm wasting my time when I could be helping people. I could be doing my own marketing. I could be doing anything better than that. And then you'll be off by like a couple of pennies. You're like, where are those pennies coming from?
Oh, yeah.
And it's such a vexing thing. And so if somebody was on social media saying, hey, you don't have to do that. Stop bothering that. We'll take care of that for you so you can do other stuff that you enjoy better. I would say that sounds good. That sounds great. I won't accidentally alienate my wife and family while I'm upstairs doing QuickBooks.
That is so relatable to me, because my husband would tell, so I'm the one that would do the numbers and stuff like that. And he's like, we have to, for the sake of all of us, hire someone. This cannot continue. You are a mess, especially when it gets around this time of year. It's like, okay, everyone. Yes. Leave her alone. We don't know where she's going to be at. So this is very much we are the target actually for this business, which is really, really helpful. So one thing that I noticed with their socials, I'm in mine, so hopefully the notifications don't go nuts, but I noticed that they have a really consistent branding with their visuals, like the colors. I'm just going to kind of scroll, So I applaud them for that. Like they're consistent. They've got their logo. They've got their colors. I do have some opportunity for improvement here. I would probably start with this image right here. There's nothing wrong with it, but this is missed opportunity to include some kind of context, lead magnet even, right here. And then I noticed that most of their posts tend to be on the sales side. Now we've got some quotes here but then we've got the stock photos, and we talked about that. When you have the photographer come in, have them take just tons of pictures, and it doesn't matter, exactly, like, you don't have to pose for every picture. A lot of candid shots are really helpful for social media, and taking pictures yourself, with smartphones, it's really not hard to get some quality images, and they don't have to always be super polished like the stock photos here, because these are not relatable. Like, this is very clearly, it's a little warmer when you've got the actual people involved in the photos, or even if, whether it be professional photographer, or whether it be they just take, they take 1 hour and take a bunch of pictures and then just keep it somewhere. And we do that a lot. Like, we'll have a shared folder when we're managing social for people, and we'll say, okay, just plop them in there. We will, we'll sift through what we need to, just so that we're not using the stock. Also, Meta, all social accounts, AI, are really good at telling if something is a stock photo or not. And those, it's not that we never ever use any stock at all. I mean, I'll use it for B-roll on video on occasion, but if you're using it all the time, they'll be able to tell that, and they're not going to distribute your posts to as many people. And so that really hurts your reach. I noticed that they have a smaller following. Okay. And they are posting consistently. And so that consistency is really helpful. I would also say incorporating like value posts. So they've got the quote here. But these kinds of posts, heavy in text, very much feel like an ad. And so you want to have something that speaks to the pain point of their audience on social. And that is true across Facebook, Instagram. They've got LinkedIn, and they've got X. I keep wanting to call it Twitter still. And so we really want to mix it up a little bit. It's not that they can't ever do this, but I would highly recommend, having some posts that talk about some of the issues and briefly address those issues that their clients are having. Kind of like that.
Totally.
Yeah,
like I wouldn't follow this page. Like, if someone said, "Hey, look at this page," I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm not going to follow this page." And they say, "Well, why not?" It's like, because I don't really want to read Charles Darwin quotes all the time when I'm interested in accounting. Like, if I was interested in like self-motivation or something like that, maybe. But on a page like this, I would want to see, like, I feel like that social media for local businesses is really good for lead nurturing. Maybe not even so much for audience growth, because like he has like 46 people following him. If he got that up a little bit to like 500 or whatever, that's a pretty decent audience. And if you were out there just telling me things that I could do that would improve my QuickBooks experience or something like that, then I would follow the page. And then eventually I would get to the point where I was like, you know what, I don't feel like doing this anymore. I'm just going to give it to Justin. He obviously is better than me. Like, he's giving me all these tips. And when I get to the point where I'm ready to hand off my own, like my do-it-yourself QuickBooks life to somebody else, he's the top of the list, because he's been nurturing me all of that time. Whereas if I'm just getting like random quotes about motivation and stuff like that, I'm not going to want to follow the page. And I'm certainly not going to want to follow the page just to see stock image. I mean, imagine, look at the stuff that you're following, like, do you like the pages that feed you stock images all the time? Like, nobody likes that. And not only is it boring, it also masks your authenticity, meaning that I don't get to see who you actually are. So it's boring and not really trust building, if you will. So that's what I would do. I also, while I'm still mentioning things about what Robyn said, I love what you said a few minutes ago about the combination of SEO and ads, like the feedback that you get from your click-through rates and so forth on the keywords that you're targeting with ads, couples with the keyword research that Gabe is doing for SEO. And all of those things link together, which is another reason I feel like it's just such an important thing. Like, even if you're not working with us, like, work with somebody to be able to get access to ad data and search engine data, so that you can actually figure out not only how to get better ad performance and better SEO performance, but also what are your clients actually talking about? Like, what are the things that they're actually going to resonate, that's going to resonate with them, to actually pull in leads, so you can get that insider kind of perspective into what's going on. so that everything is better. Your copy's better, your social posts are better, your ads are better, your SEO, like every single thing, even in-person interactions with clients. You go to a BNI group or a networking event, say the stuff that you know they're talking about, right? Say the stuff that you figured out, it gets all the clicks on your ads. Say the stuff that gets all the traffic coming in from SEO. Say the stuff that you put in your social media posts that really resonated with people. All of that is market research that you can use in-person local interactions, even if you're just having lunch with somebody, even if you run into somebody in the grocery store and they're like, hey, Lee, what are you up to? Say some of the stuff, like say those things that you know really resonate rather than not having any idea what to say. And that whole, like, and I don't know anywhere else. I can't think of anywhere else that you can get that type of holistic view into your audience apart from the types of things that we're doing in DoubleStack, which is really cool. So back to you, Robyn, after that tangent.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Hey, you touched on a couple of things there that kind of brought some other things outside of what I was going to talk about. When we're talking about authenticity and we're talking about connecting with our audience, it's really good to take the opportunity with your following to ask them questions. And the best place to do that is in story. And so when we're looking at, Instagram and we're looking at Facebook, particularly, the opportunity for stories is really a good place to ask questions and to get feedback and to do market research. And I encourage you, if you don't have a meta business portfolio is what they call it now, make sure that all of your data is connected. Even if you're not currently running ads, just make sure, go ahead and connect all of it to your website. And then, first thing I would probably tell these guys, they've got 46 followers, like they're following on Instagram is along those lines. I would boost some posts, which I used to tell people not to do, but just to kind of take those value posts that we're talking about and boost them, put them out there, promote that lead magnet on social. You really want that image to grab attention. And with the stock images here, people have developed, and it's like a statistic, they've developed a blindness to it. Mm-hmm. So like they'll see this on their feed and they're like, I'm not reading that. Like it doesn't hook them in, And so static images are fine. You want to mix in some video content because those really hook people in, and you can do text overlay in the video for context to let them know what they're about to watch. But the opportunity for reels here is great because they could, 15, 20 seconds, or 30 seconds is actually ideal. What kind of value could you put in a video with a voiceover? Even it doesn't have to be the person's face the whole time, kind of talking about some of those pain points and giving some quick tips. Also, one thing that I see a lot of businesses do, and this really affects your reach, Meta does not like links that lead away from their platform. They just don't. And Instagram, these aren't even hyperlinks, they're just text. But you really want to either tell people link in the comments below and then get them down in the comments, which is great because in your first comment, you can engage conversation down here and include the link. See if you can get people to interact and join with you in conversation while they're looking for that link, because here you've put something valuable and they want to see more. Or I always tell people the link in the bio. See, they've got their website here, which it's fine, but it's not ideal for Instagram. And so I want to kind of show an example just real quick. I didn't know who this guy was, but I just put his picture there, preferably, the head guy. There would be a people picture right here, just of a link tree example. This is just put this together really quickly. We could make it better, but with their branding here, their colors, we've got people in there, kind of says what they do right here. And then your lead, the lead magnet here, and kind of a few quick links in all their social accounts. Just make it really fast on a phone for people to find what they're looking for and to grab that attention, because you really only have, especially on social media, you've got about 3 seconds. You've got about 3 seconds. And what's really interesting is the different kinds of posts that reach different people in your audience. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to reach so that you can grow your following. You also, like you had said, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the followers. And that in itself helps with growth, because a lot of people don't realize maybe you got 20 new followers on an account like this last month, but then you lost 20. And so you're not growing. You want to keep people with that valuable content and starting those conversations and getting them invested in the conversation. So, we talked about stock photos and how the AI can detect them. We talked about video. That's really, with their social accounts, I would just encourage them to mix it up a bit. And they may have hired someone. I'm unsure on that. It looks like maybe they did, and to post for them. But mixing up that content and keeping it quality is way more important than the quantity. So if they're too busy to come up with quality content consistently and they're going to get burned out, it would be better for them to post once or twice a week versus every single day. Because if the quality suffers and it's like, it doesn't matter, you're just kind of throwing things out there for the sake of posting, that's not helpful. And you can see that in the engagement here. There's not any. And so, and that is a very common issue with a lot of small business social media accounts. They think that they've got to post, and they're not posting every day anyway, but they think that they need to post more often. And really the important thing is that the content that's being put out there has a better depth and more quality to it than just throwing it nowhere, because the people aren't going to see it. The reach isn't going to be there. And that reach, last thing, that reach is determined by response. So when you post something on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, there's like a test pool. And so people do not comment or send it to someone. That's really good on Instagram right now. You want people to send it in a message, share it with a friend. If they're not doing that, then they're going to stop at showing it to 50 people, And so if you want to get that reach out there, you need to get people engaging and interacting with the content. That's the only way that it's valuable to the platform to distribute it to more people.
Yeah. So then you have to summarize, because I love all these thoughts. So then you have the quality posts that can be combined with boosting those, and then you get that engagement. All of that, even if you post once a week, is better than posting every day or posting 3 times a week when nobody is really engaging with anything. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Yeah. Yes. Because that engagement is what is going to determine the quality of your social account. You will be shadow banned eventually if you just keep throwing stuff out there like spaghetti on the fridge, whatever sticks, and I get it. Like, everyone tells you something different. A lot of the data that I'm sharing with you, and I could go into it really deep, came directly from, there's been some recent updates from Instagram's CEO. And so a lot of this information that I'm sharing with you came directly from the Instagram CEO. So that is because they want people putting quality content out there. They want people interacting with them. They want people staying in platform, So that's what they care about. And so in the same way, that's what Google cares about. And I didn't go over to their Google business profile, but there's also an opportunity there, in addition to needing more reviews on their profile. They also have an opportunity to take some of those posts that they're sharing and to share them over on their profile as an update. Ask themselves some questions, because Google business profile isn't really looked at as a social media platform. In a lot of ways it is. It's different, it's not as interactive, but it certainly does make an impact in their reach. So
that's all totally true. So what I'm hearing is fewer posts with more engagement. It's like the Jerry Maguire approach to social media. Ever see Jerry Maguire? where like he writes this memo where they're not supposed to have as many athletes on their roster or whatever. They just want to have like a few people that they really invest in.
Mhm.
Show me the money. I love that movie. I just love that movie. I've probably seen it like 6 or 7 times already. All right, so let's wrap it up with just 3 things. One thing is, if you want us on your team, you can head over to doublestack.net/call, and my calendar will pop up and you can find a time to talk to me. I personally take all these calls, so sadly you won't be able to schedule a call with Robyn or Gabe. It'll be just me. But find a time that works for you. We'll get on Zoom together and just see if you want us on your team and you feel like DoubleStack's the right fit for you. Or if you've got a client that you're working with and you'd like us to do a deep dive for them, drop the note in the comments below. Like, just let us know the name of the business and where they're located, because we want to look up their Google profile and stuff like that. And then we'll do a deep dive on one of your clients' businesses in one of these videos right here. Or if you want to see the deep dive we took into the health and wellness sector, last week we did a deep dive on the back doctor, and you can check that out right down here. So I'll see you there next.